It has been always the greatest passion of mankind since existence, to discover what is beyond the places where they live, and to move and cross frontiers and to explore new environments. Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. Join us as we explore the historical development of tourism. In addition to the historical development of travel mobility from the early ages to the present day, the breakthrough, especially in transportation, have made great contribution to the development of tourism. Every invention has become a milestone in this development. In modern times, the progress of information and communication technologies has led to a number of fundamental changes in tourism industry, resulting in highly diverse dynamic business models. Now, let us discover the historical development of tourism.
Early forms of travel were primary for trade, religion, migration, and scrapmanship. Sumerian pioneered trade in 4000 BC, marking the beginnings of a modern travel. Transportation was limited to donkeys until whale wagons appeared. Ibig sabihin po, ang paglalakbay noong sinuunang panahon ay mahalaga para sa iba't ibang layunin tulad ng kalakalan, relihiyon, migrasyon at pagkakagawa. Ang mga Sumeriano ay nanguna sa kalakalan noong 4000 BC na siyang nagsimula ng konsepto ng modernong paglalakbay. Noong una, ang mga tao ay gumagamit lamang ng mga asno bilang transportasyon hanggang sa naimbento ang mga karwahe na may gulong. Asian civilization, like Babylonians and Egyptians, traveled for business and leisure. Religious tourism was significant, with Egyptians visiting pyramids for religious and pleasure purposes. Ang mga sinaunang sibilisasyon tulad ng mga Babylonians at Egyptians ay naglalakbay hindi lamang para sa negosyo, kundi pati na rin sa paglilibang. Ang mga relihiyosong paglalakbay ay lubos na mahalaga, kung saan ang mga Egyptian at Babylonians ay naglakbay sa pyramid hindi lamang para sa relihiyosong layunin, kundi pati na rin para sa kasiyahan. The Silk Road was a major trade route connecting East and West. It facilitated the exchange of goods, knowledge, ideas, and culture. Ang Silk Road ay isang napakahalagang ruta ng kalakalan na nag-uugnay sa silangan at kanluran. Ito ay naging daan upang magpalitan ang mga tao ng mga produkto, kaalaman, ideya, at kultura. Queen Hatshepsut of Egypt made an early recorded tourism journey to put in 1400 BC. The Phoenicians were skilled maritime traders who colonized vast areas in Europe. Si Reyna Hatshepsut ng Ehipto ay gumawa ng isang naitalagang paglalakbay patungo sa Put noong 1400 BC. Ang mga Phoenicians naman ay kilala bilang mahusay na mga mangangalakal sa dagat na nag-colonize ng malawak na lugar sa Europe. The Roman Empire saw a surge in travel for leisure and pleasure. Infrastructure development like road and inns made travel easier and safer. Romans enjoyed seaside resort and thermal baths and entertainment.
Travel in the Middle Ages. The period between 600 and 1000 AD was known as the Early Middle Ages. The ancient civilization in Mediterranean coast of southern Europe and North Africa and Anatolia were also culturally attracted by the people at the time. The first tourism movement in ancient Egyptian, Greek and Roman civilization of Mediterranean center were made for religious purposes, mainly visiting temples and sanctuaries as well as travel for healthcare. During the early Middle Ages, travelers were going from one place to another, either on foot or on horseback. When possible, people traveled by boat on horse-drawn vehicles. Starting from the 5th century AD, especially mass travelers like military and religious purposes, the dirt roads having rocky bare earth surface become more prominent and developed among the cities. Along the Christianity, the classical Italian cities were the most important places to be visited. Like in Central Europe, going to the thermal baths became one of the first tourism movements. Religious travelers to Mecca, birthplace of Prophet Muhammad and where Islam was born, became important after the death of the founder in 632 and Muslims started to perform Hajj from Mecca. This was the most well-known religious traveler from Muslims in the Middle Ages, as well as Muslims traveler Ibn Battuta was who educated Islamic law undertook journeys from Morocco to perform pilgrimage to Mecca. Comparable to those of Marco Polo traveled over 70,000 miles in 25 years, as well as the countries in North Africa and Middle East. In Europe, the Middle Ages, or medieval period, is considered between the 5th to the 15th century. It was begun to fall at the Western Roman Empire in BC 476 and merged into Renaissance and the Age of Discovery. However, as the Roman Empire collapsed in the 5th century, roads fell into disuse and barbarians made it unsafe to travel. But gradually, road safety was established and people's travel instinct revived again. With the traders, students, pilgrims, and beggars and robbers, during the 11th and 12th century, it became very important for students to travel in the name of education. One of the most important events in the Middle Ages that required masses of people to move Europe to the Middle East was called the Crusades. The Crusades were great military expeditions undertaken by the Christian nations of Europe for the purpose of rescuing the holy places in Palestine from the Muslims. Of course, the movements of crusaders from their origin to Palestine directly affected the cultural, social, and political lives of the cities along the route. First Crusade was begun in 1095 by Pope II. The target was to reach Jerusalem. From the 15th century onwards, while the rich class primarily traveled for the cultural and recreational purposes, the poor were mostly traveling for the pilgrimage. Since there were no modern and technological vehicles, these journeys were made for the rich on horse and horse carriage rides while poor could not afford the expense of a horse and carriage and travel on foot. As religious beliefs became more and more conscious among the communities, the Jews and Christians traveled to Jerusalem and Muslims Mecca and Medina for pilgrimage in groups, and it could be regarded as beginning of the mass tourism.
The Grand Tour was extremely exclusive and indispensable form of education for young Europeans in the higher ranking of society, especially for English noble children. Children were generally accompanied by tutors for guidance according to Holloway 2009. Travelers carried little money for fear of robbery. Instead, they took letters of credit from their London banks which they then presented in major cities. Originally, the Grand Tour was expected to last about 3.5 years, 6 months of traveling and 3 years of living abroad, allowing gentlemen to absorb the cultures they were visiting and to improve their language skills. The most popular destinations were France and Italy. From Paris, travelers usually proceeded to the Alps and then by boat on the Mediterranean to Italy. They would usually visit Rome and Venice, but their tour may have included also Spain, Portugal, Germany, and Eastern Europe, the Balkans, and the Baltics. It was more popular from 1840 and onwards owing to the development of large-scale rail transport and ended when the outbreak of the Napoleonic Wars stopped most foreign travels. Over the course of the 17th and 18th century after the end of schooling for 3 months, thousands of British, German, French, and even Russian traveled around the continent in the search of the root of art, culture, and Western civilization.
Next is the 19th century and the effects of Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution significantly impacted technology and transportation, making travel more accessible and organized. Railways in Britain and later in Europe and North America facilitated greater access to destinations at higher speeds. There are a lot of social changes like shift in values in the Industrial Revolution. Rest was initially seen as a luxury, and working was regarded as virtue. There are also longer working hours. Factory workers often work 70 hours a week for 12 hours a day. And also, the rise of new class. Industrial bosses gained wealth and social prestige. And of course, emergence of new groups. Middle classes professionals like dealers, brokers, and accountants emerge. So what are the workers' rights and reforms? During the Industrial Revolution in England, Robert Owen did the most important work to protect workers' rights. Ang tawag sa reform na yon ay Owenism. From 1819 and onwards, according to the decision taken for the cotton factories in England, 9-year-old workers were forbidden to work in factories, and for the 9 to 16 age groups, the working hours were reduced to 8 hours per day. Over the next few years, Robert Owen developed political views that resulted in being described him as the father of socialism. In the 1830s, first trade unions and trade chambers were established in England, thanks to the protection trends for workers that Owen had a major influence on. So what are the impacts of this on society? First is it improves living standards. Developed countries saw improved living conditions, like shorter working hours and more leisure time. It increased purchasing power. Global purchasing power increased, leading to changes in consumption's habit. And lastly, technological advancements like steam machines and trains contribute to the community development and tourism. Overall, binago ng Industrial Revolution ang lipunan na nagdulot ng mga pag-unlad sa teknolohiya, transportasyon at pamantayan ng pamumuhay. But at the same time, nagdala rin ito ng hamon para sa mga manggagawa. Sa huli ay nakatulong ito sa pag-unlad ng industriya ng turismo.
Thomas Cook was a pioneering English businessman who revolutionized the tourism industry. His organized tours are considered the foundation of a modern package tour. Si Thomas Cook ay kilala bilang isa sa mga nangunang nag-organisa ng mga paglalakbay para sa mga tao noong 1841. Nag-organisa siya ng unang grupo ng mga biyahero para sa isang day trip mula Leisure patungong Loughborough gamit ang tren. Dahil sa kanyang tagumpay, nagsimula siyang mag-alok ng mas malaking paglalakbay, kabilang na ang international na biyahe or international tour. Ang ideya ng kanyang mga package tour ay nagbigay ng kumpletong serbisyo mula sa transportation hanggang sa accommodation na nagpadali sa pagbiyahe ng mga tao. Dahil dito, siya ay tinuring na ama ng modernong turismo. Early career. Work as a Baptist preacher, carpenter, furniture maker, publisher, and a political advocate. Believe in the positive impact of education and reduce alcoholic consumption. Sa kanyang maagang karera, nagsilbi siya bilang isang Baptist na mangangaral kung saan nagbigay siya ng mga aral at mensahe ng pananampalataya. Bukod dito, siya rin ay naging isang karpentero at gumagawa ng mga kasangkapan na nagpapakita ng kanyang kasanayan sa mga gawaing kamay. Bilang isang paglathala, nagkaroon siya ng papel sa pangangalat ng impormasyon at kaalaman sa larangan ng politika. Aktibo siya sa pagsulong ng mga layunin na pinaniniwalaan niyang makapagdadala ng kabutihan sa lipunan. Sa kanyang mga paniniwala ay ang kahalagahan ng edukasyon at ang pag-iwas sa labis na pag-inom ng alak na sa kanyang pananaw ay makakatulong sa pag-unlad ng individual early tours, organized local train trips for temperance societies and Sunday schools. Launched his first commercial venture in 1845 with a trip to Liverpool. Published a handbook for travelers, a precursor to modern brochure. International expansion. Expanded his tours to include European destination, the United States, and the Holy Land. Founded Thomas Cook and Son Company with his son. Introduced innovate service like voucher hotel coupons, traveler's checks, and travel publication. Si Thomas Cook ay isang kilalang tao sa industriya ng paglalakbay. O kilala siya sa industriya natin. Pinalawak niya ang mga biyahe upang masaklaw hindi lamang ang mga lugar sa kanyang sariling bansa, kundi pati na rin sa Europe, Estados Unidos. Kasama ang kanyang anak. Inilatag niya ang Thomas Cook and Son Company na nagpalawak sa kanyang negosyo. Nakilala rin siya ng mga makabagong serbisyo tulad ng mga voucher para sa mga hotel, mga traveler's check, na nagbibigay ng mas ligtas na paraan ng pagdadala ng pera at mga publikasyon na nagbibigay ng impormasyon at gabay sa mga biyahero. Ang mga serbisyong ito ay nagbibigay ng malaking ginhawa at seguridad sa mga manlalakbay. Legacy organized the first commercial tour in 1855, including travel, accommodation, and food. Pioneered dark tourism with tours to battle sites. The Thomas Cook Group remains a leading global leisure travel company.
Development in transportation are the milestone in tourism. Transport systems always play a vital role in development of a country or a region. Vitalization spread the development of transportation systems have the most important influence that contributes to the progress and of the societies in tourism. Agriculture, industry, commerce, and administration, defense, education, and health. In other words, transportation networks are a reflection of a national and regional development. Indeed, the tourism cannot be mentioned without transportation. The transportation in tourism was earlier provided by a usually horse-driven vehicles. Later in the 19th century, with the invention of steam engines, the modes of transportation completely changed. Speed and time factors became important. Transportation in tourism means movement of the people from where they live to where touristic products are presented to them. The tourist travel and tourism experiences and the idea of tourism products start with the transportation. The innovation in transportation, new technologies, and infrastructure arrangement accelerate the development of tourism and give dynamism. Each of the developments in transportation has been a milestone for the industry. Since the Industrial Revolution until today, three major inventions can be regarded as a milestone in tourism. The expansion in the transport has been caused travel cost to fall. These are developments are respectively railway transportation, automotive industry, and air transportation.
After the invention of steam engines, the mode of transport completely changed and railway transport gradually became operational. It first started in 1825 in the United Kingdom and spread throughout Europe and America within 25 years. Since the start of the first steam train, transportation has been faster and easier than ever before, and costs have fallen rapidly. With the application of the steam power to the locomotive and pulling the ability of several wagons on the rails, the railway network spread throughout the world in a short period of time. Locomotives on the railway were hauling trains up to 30 tons at a speed of 25 kilometers per hour. It was great spread for that period of time. From 1830 to 1900, the USA was the first country in the world to establish a systematic rail network in order to connect the country from east to west and from north to south. USA extracted more coal and iron ore from any other country in the world, produced more steel and laid more railways. By 1870, it was possible to cross America on the transcontinental from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific coast or from the Pacific coast to the Atlantic coast by train. Before the Transcontinental Railroad, the trip from New York City to San Francisco could take in just 3.5 days. Starting from 1820s, following 130 years can be described as a golden age of steam trains. Railways were built all over the world. In this time, some of the trains became world's classic. The Orient Express was a long-distance train first run in 1883 and connected London to Istanbul. The complete route was London, Paris, Munich, Vienna, Budapest, Zagreb, Belgrade, Sofia, and finally Istanbul. It was a fabled journey and several movie films were made about it. This new invention rapidly shortened long distances with speed and decreased the cost of transportation and had been the most important supporter of the modern tourism. Advances in transportation kept pace with the spread of the American nation. After 1900, the use of steel wagons instead of wooden wagons made rail travel less dangerous and more comfortable by switching to a sleeping wagon. The invention and application of steam engines revolutionized transportation. leading to the widespread adoption of railways and transforming travel and logistics. The advent of steam engines and the subsequent development of railways revolutionized transportation by making it faster, cheaper, and more efficient. The widespread adoption of railways not only transformed travel and logistics, but also significantly impacted economic growth and tourism, leaving a lasting legacy on modern infrastructure and industry.
The most important reason why the railway system decreased over the time was a widespread use of automobiles, increase in the numbers, offer more flexibility in the way of travel. Although the first experimental steam power vehicles were built in the 17th and 18th century, the petrol power car was first invented by George Batron in 1872 in the United States. In Europe, in 1985, German engineer Carl Benz invented an internal combustion engine powered by gasoline. Later, a small number of automobiles were manufactured in different countries. But at the beginning of the 20th century, the automobile was bought by the rich peoples only. American engineer named Henry Ford built a simple, reliable, and affordable gasoline-powered automobile in 1896, which consisted of a light metal frame fitted with four bicycle wheels and powered by two-cylinder, 4 horsepower gasoline engine. Later, Ford decided to manufacture cars in series and he put all his concentration on this project. On October 1, 1908, the first production Model T Ford car was completed. This was a revolution for the American society. At the beginning of 1908, there were fewer than 200,000 in the road. By the 1913, 1,000 cars were being manufactured per day by serial brand production. Between 1908 and 1927, Ford built some 15 million Model T cars. It was the longest production run of any automobile model in the history till 1972. Automobiles have played an important role in tourism by reaching its present level by spreading to all regions, having a human-focused structure, and the increase of short-term tourism movements. The increase of private cars and their use in holiday tourism has led to the revitalization of the accommodation facilities in the road route, and the emergence of new accommodation facilities such as motels, caravans, and campings. For this reason, it would not be wrong to say that the second important milestone for tourism is the automotive industry and the spread rapidly all over the world.
Air transportation has become a integral part of modern tourism industry, revolutionizing travel and accessibility. Ito ay nangangahulugan ang ang paglipad gamit ang eroplano ay naging isang mahalagang aspeto ng makabagong turismo. Dahil dito, mas mabilis at mas madali na ang pagpunta sa iba't ibang destinasyon na dati-rati mahirap abutin. Ang mga eroplano ay nagbibigay daan sa mas malawak na oportunidad para sa mga turista na nakararanas ng iba't ibang kultura. Makita ang mga tanyag na pasyalan at makapunta sa mga lugar na dati-rati imposible o mahirap puntahan. Ang mga transportasyon panghimpapawid ay nagbibigay ng bagong anyo sa kung papaano tayo maglakbay at nag-e-enjoy ang mga turismo sa kasalukuyan. Early history. First scheduled passenger flight occurred in 1914 between St. Petersburg and Tampa, USA. Post-World War I growth. The aviation industry expanded, with the new airlines emerging. Government support. The Contract Air Mail Act and Commerce Act in the USA promoted airline growth. Technological advancement. Aircraft design and conversion. Military aircraft were adapted for commercial use, and propeller planes transport to jet aircraft. De Havilland Comet, the world's first commercial jetliner. Impact on tourism. Increased accessibility. Air transportation made decision more accessible and affordable. Growth of travel agencies and tour operation. The rise of air travel led to the expansion of travel agencies and tour operations. Charter flights. The introduction of flights provided more options for travelers. Ang pag-usbong ng air transportation ay nagkaroon ng malaking epekto sa turismo dahil mas pinadali at mas pinababa nito ang gastos ng pagpunta sa iba't ibang destinasyon. Dahil dito, mas maraming tao nang nagkaroon ng kakayahang maglakbay at mag-explore ng iba't ibang lugar. Kasabay nito, lumago rin ang mga ahensya ng paglalakbay at mga tour operator dahil sa tumataas na demand para sa mga serbisyo nila. Ang mga ito ay tumutulong sa pag-organize ng mga biyahe at tour package na nagbibigay ng mas maginhawang karanasan para sa mga turista. Bukod pa rito, ang pagpapakilala ng mga charter flights ay nagdagdag ng iba't ibang option para sa mga manglalakbay. Ang mga ito ay karaniwang mas mura at nagbibigay ng direktang ruta papunta sa mga sikat na destinasyon na lalo pang nagpasigla sa turismo. Modern air travel, long-haul flight. The development of long-haul aircraft, such as Boeing 747, A370, B-77, A380, and B-787, has enabled direct flight to distant destinations, increased passengers numbers. Air travel has experienced significant growth with the billions of passengers traveling annually. Dahil sa modernong paglalakbay sa himpapawid, ang mga tao ay mas madali at mas mabilis na nakakarating sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. Ang pag-unlad ng mga eroplano para sa mahabang biyahe tulad ng mga Boeing 747, A340, B-77, A380 at B-787 ay nagbigay daan sa direktang paglipad patungo sa mas malayong destinasyon na dati-rati mahirap puntahan. Bilang resulta, dumami ang bilang ng mga tao na naglalakbay sa pamamagitan ng eroplano.
Technology and tourism has been intertwined for the past 3 decades, with technological advancement accelerating the use of computerized systems and enabling a wider range of services. Information and communication technology (ICT) are primarily focused on communication technologies, including the internet, wireless networks, and cell phones. The advance of ICT in 1970s marked a revolution of the tourism industry, with computer reservation system (CRS) being the most crucial contribution. GDS systems such as Amadeus, Galileo, Apollo, Sabre, and WorldSpan have been essential facilitator of the exchange in the industry. The widespread use of internet in the 90s increased productivity, improved management system, and reduced labor costs. ICT has almost led to the radical changes in marketing strategies and distribution channels, resulting in changes in the supply to distribution of products and services. Travel agency and tour operators must adapt to new market strategies, brand image, innovation, and specialized travel agencies to maintain market continuity. Today, ICT's influence in tourism organization is dominant, making a new milestone in the modern tourism industry. For the past 30 years, technology and tourism has been closely linked as advances in technology have accelerated the usage of computerized systems and make a greater choices service possible. ICT has also brought a significant alternations in marketing and distribution networks, which have changed the availability and flow of goods and services. To ensure market continuity, travel agencies and tour operators need to adjust a new market strategies, brand image innovation, and specialized travel agencies. ICT is now a key component of tourism business, marking a significant advance for the sector.
World tourism movements in 21st century. Tourism had a rapid development since the second half of the 20th century. In the first 10 years of the 21st century, tourism industry has become a major force for economic growth of each country. This industry is growing faster than the global economy. So, tourists have become an important source of income for countries, and their policies have started to concentrate more in the tourism industry. The tourism is at the forefront of the other industries that is changing day by day, constantly renewing its method and systems. developing the country's economies and progressively moving forward. According to the World Travel and Tourism Council, in 2019, economic impact of tourism is supporting 1 in 10 jobs of 319 million worldwide and generating 10.4 of the world GDP. One, one in five new jobs was created by tourism industry over the last 5 years. According to the World Tourism Organization highlights, in the year 2000, the number of international tourist arrivals worldwide was around 690 million, 1.184 billion in 2015, and it is estimated that in 2030, the figure will hit 1.8 billion.
So, for the conclusion, is the evolution of tourism. Technological advancement had been instrumental in the development of tourism. From early forms of transportation like horses and wheeled vehicles to the invention of the steam engines and aircraft, technology has continually transformed the way people traveled. Key milestones in tourism development: domestication of animals, like horses for transportation and exploration, invention of the wheeled, facilitated land travel, enabled exploration of new lands and continents. Steam engines revolutionized transportation with its application to the locomotive and cars. Aircraft introduced commercial aviation, significantly impacting long-distance travel. Growth of tourism. International tourist arrivals have steadily increased over time, reached 702 million in 2000, and project to reach 1.8 billion by 2030. Economic impact: tourism has become a major economic force contributing to growth, employment, and poverty reduction. Challenges and opportunities: COVID-19 pandemics. The pandemic posed significant challenges to the tourism industry in 2020, leading to a decline in international tourist revenue and employment. Recovery and resilience: the tourism industry has demonstrated resilience in the past crisis and is expected to recover from the pandemic with appropriate measures. For future outlook: continued growth, sustainable development, and global cooperation. For continued growth, the tourist industry is protected to continue growing, driven by technological advancement and increased demand. Sustainable development efforts will be made to ensure that tourism contributes to the environmental and cultural protection. Global cooperation. Collaboration among governments, organizations, and industry stakeholders is crucial for the sustainable growth of tourism. In conclusion, the evolution of tourism has been shaped by the technological advancement and has been a vital economic sector. While facing challenges like the COVID-19 pandemic, the tourism industry's resilience and the potential for positive impact on economies and societies remain strong.